Hello, everybody. I am talking about the lunar eclipse on 10th of January 2020 in Gemini, Punarvasu Nakshatra. It's actually visible throughout the world except for North America and South America. So it's like a global influence, but how does it influence? And more importantly, what is their influence on you? Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking about the lunar eclipse, first eclipse of 2020. And the lunar eclipse is going to be at 25 degrees 53 minutes of Gemini, and it is in the nakshatra of Punarvasu. Uh, so that is the technical aspect of it. Now, the lunar eclipse takes much longer to reveal itself. It is going to start at 17:10 UTC. UTC is Universal Time, and then it will be 19:10 when it is full, and then in another 2 hours it will end. But this span, which will be the night for most of in Europe and in Asia, India especially, and we see China as well as Australia, New Zealand, all these places are covered, Japan. So it's a big eclipse, but lunar eclipse differs from a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is like an omen for things to come, and that aspect remains active for years, and whereas the lunar eclipse is like an instant trigger. So when this eclipse takes place on 10th of January, that means that some things will get triggered off. And in all the different countries, usually they say that the lunar eclipse the effect of lunar eclipse lasts for 1 month. So within the month, but I've noticed we have been following the lunar eclipses, it reveals something. There may be some scandal, some hidden information. It can trigger off situations. So sometimes the eclipse can trigger off protests. It can cause public unrest. Remember, this is like so many people getting affected. So each country where you are, you may know what the issues are exactly, and it can create a big turmoil if it triggers off something. If it doesn't trigger off, then it's mostly on an individual level, it's more emotional because the moon is involved. And I noticed that the day of the eclipse or one day before, there's a kind of heaviness within us. Our mind feels unsettled, and generally, it is best to keep that day simple. And maybe the day after that, not to put too much pressure on yourself, avoid traveling, avoid going into big groups of people, but generally just keep it simple. People used to fast on eclipse days, but it's not necessary to fast if you want to, but simplicity is the key. And don't pressurize yourself too much, and don't trust all the kind of thoughts that come in during that time. Wait for a few days, process the information, and then decide on any event or anything that you want to do. As I've been talking quite a lot, that this is the first half of 2020, January 2020 is more difficult. But as we progress, then the planets all get into dignity, and they have done all the drama that we have had December, January. So the two eclipses that are there. And so it is important that you honor the eclipse. And even in USA as well as South America, where it is not visible, you'll still feel the energy. Of course, if you have a planet near 25 degrees of Gemini and also Sagittarius, then those areas, Gemini would be personal, very close to you. Sagittarius is the opposite side. So you may feel the need for some change, some unexpected energy. The other thing is this, that the 26th December eclipse had 6 planets in Sagittarius. But at this stage, there are 5 planets. So except the moon, all the other planets are still in the same sign. So that means that there's quite a lot of heaviness in this eclipse, and heaviness in the 7th house from itself. That means in partnership, relationship issues, generally, other people's point of view. And all these planets are aspecting their eclipse, so that makes it more intense. And then there's a Sun Saturn conjunction. If you listen to my Sun in Sagittarius video, I've talked about that in it. But there's a Sun Saturn conjunction right around the eclipse. Jupiter is there, Mercury is there. They're all opposite side. That means that we are being forced to recognize other people's demands, the opposite to ourselves. So that is another aspect of the eclipse. But I would say just recognize that these are unsettled energies, and the eclipses happen every year. And therefore, we have to learn how to cope with them well. And each one of you have different ways to deal with the eclipses. And if you are following Jyotish, then you should honor this energy as a disturbed energy. And it's a good idea not to plan any big event or big thing around this time. And if your birthday is on 10th of January, then the eclipse is right on your birthday. So in your annual chart, the eclipse will be there. If you are 9th or 11th, it's close enough. That means that your sun is getting affected. It's opposite to the eclipse, not in the eclipse, but it's part of the eclipse. So it is an important aspect for you to consider. Of course, if your birthday is 9th, 10th, then Saturn is going over your sun as well. So that means you are under pressure. But, these pressures even the eclipses are not always giving bad revelations. They can sometimes shift you and bring out more positive energy. And as I said, the 2020, after the 15th of January, when Sun moves out of Sagittarius and other aspects are starting to come into their own, will be a lot easier to deal with. So let us look at how it affects you. As far as Aries is concerned, the eclipse is in the 3rd house of effort, and you can be reacting to situations emotionally, but your ruling planet Mars is quite strong. He's not part of the eclipse, so it can be more as a spectator. And you do need to be just careful that you're not pushing some agendas. Wait till after the eclipse. Taurus, the eclipse is in the 2nd house of finances, money, savings. And so, you may feel that you are having some discussion regarding that, or you want to invest in something. This is not the time to do it. Wait after the eclipse. And joint finances may be also under scrutiny, but if you want to discuss anything, wait afterwards, and then things will be better. Gemini, of course, you have the eclipse happening in your ascendant. So Gemini is going through big changes because the eclipses are all in Gemini, Sagittarius axis. And we have one more set of eclipses which will come, but this is a lunar eclipse. So for Gemini, something can be revealed at this time, some changes that you need to make. Now, Mercury is usually very flexible and is able to deal with these situations. So it should be, you'll be able to manage, but I would still say that, easy and slowly does it. No big decisions around this time. Cancer, of course, moon is involved in the eclipse, and also it is in your 12th house of spending. So be tight on your spending. 12th house can also create some losses. So you don't want to be, creating losses for yourself. So be extremely careful about both areas, and sometimes efforts are not being rewarded, but just let it be especially around that time, to discuss or talk about it. Leo, again, this eclipse is sun is involved. So all the eclipses, moon and sun are involved. So moon and sun have to be, Cancer and Leo have to be conscious of it, even though it's not directly in Leo or in Cancer, it will affect you. So for Leo, it's in the 11th house of finances. So, this is not an underhand thing to do during this time or be secretive, because some secrets can be revealed during that eclipse that you don't want them to be revealed. And just be conscious. And it can also bring some unexpected bump in your earnings. These are eclipses. Why we are cautious about the eclipses is we don't know how the energy will manifest itself. So you can get a big boost in income as well, but mostly your side, you should be cautious and careful. Then Gemini, of course, Mercury is part of the opposition to the eclipse. Mercury is still in Sagittarius. It's after the eclipse, it goes into Capricorn, but it's still part of this eclipse and close to the sun opposite. So you do feel it. It is in your 10th house, career. So there can be some unexpected changes. Remember, the lunar eclipse is not going to take long. So it can bring some changes at work. You may think you want to change your job. And as I said, take your time about the decisions. It's not any time to rush into anything. Libra, the eclipse is in your 9th house. 9th house is the house of father, the guru, the advisor. Not the best place for the eclipse to be in. You may find some disagreement with people in power, authority, more like father and respected people. Or you may find that you're getting some wrong advice. So if you're taking advice around this time, it is important to be careful. Eclipse is just the eclipse day. After that, the things settle down. So moon changes signs, everything is there. So you have to just watch out for the eclipse. Scorpio, the eclipse is in your 8th house. Now, 8th house is house of transformation, change, hidden house. So it may be that you don't know what is happening and you're not aware of what is being revealed, and it can suddenly create some unexpected changes. Now, as far as Scorpio is concerned, Mars, your ascendant ruler or your moon ruler, is in your ascendant. So therefore, it is important aspect for you that you are quite in control, but don't be overconfident and just be aware that this eclipse is there. It's in your 8th house. There are some changes that you may not even be thinking just now that are about to happen. And Scorpio, being a fixed sign, hates any kind of change. Sagittarius, this is a big eclipse for you just before Saturn changes signs. As I told you, Saturn, Sun, 5 planets are still in Sagittarius. So some of the Sagittarius I'm talking, they are being inundated with pressure, different ideas, different people. And the eclipse is in the 7th house of marriage, relationships, other person. So one of the things you have to be conscious is that other people have opinion. And although you are very stressed out, they are sort of telling you to look at their issues, and nothing is clear. Everything is confusing. And wait a few days, Saturn will move out. Jupiter will get stronger. So that is the thing. So 9th, 10th, 11th, those are 10th specifically. And then Capricorn, the eclipse is in the 6th house for you. And 6th house is house of obstacles, enemies, difficulties. And the 6th, 12th house access is activated. You had the 12th house eclipse, now the 6th house. A good thing as a remedy for Capricorn would be to do some karma yoga, selfless service, give back to society. Keep your life simple at this time. If some opposition is rising up, don't deal with them at that time, but something may get revealed for you. So to be aware of it. Aquarius, the eclipse is in the 5th house of creativity, ideas, higher thinking, unexpected issues with children. Be conscious of that. As I said, that it is, Saturn is also opposite to the eclipse. So Saturn is your ruling planet. So there's a tight Saturn Sun conjunction. You're a bit burnt out. So there may be some not so good news for you. So be strong, deal with it as it happens. Don't kind of prejudge anything. Pisces, the eclipse is in the 4th house of home. So you may be traveling, you may be unsettled. It may be some disagreement with your mother, because 4th house is mother. Overall change of home, you may feel you want to change, do something. I think the most important thing to remember about the lunar eclipse is it's very short duration. So, as followers of astrology, what we have to be conscious is, whatever sign we are, is that this short duration is that we are aware that these are disruptive forces. So they are encouraging us to sometimes do things that are not productive for ourselves. So if we are, conscious, careful, taking time with any decision, not kind of automatically reaction to stimuli that the eclipse creates, then we are in a better way once the eclipse is over. We haven't made some big decisions. We haven't done that. That has been damaging to ourselves. So all the best, and thank you very much.